There's a moment I've seen play out hundreds of times in therapy while helping people build recovery from social anxiety. A client will pause and say something like, I probably just said too much. Or maybe when looking at another moment, they'll say, they probably think I'm weird. And sometimes it's softer. I don't think they really like me. And for a brief second, it sounds like they're stating a fact, like the sky is blue or gravity's real. If you listen closely, though, you can almost hear the thought land with weight. It's heavy, convincing, and familiar. And the question isn't, is it true? It's what happens when you believe it? That's where diffusion begins. I'm Dr. Matt Bedell, a licensed professional counselor supervisor and licensed chemical dependency counselor based in Allen, Texas. And this is Belonging Matters, where we explore how acceptance commitment therapy, aka ACT, facilitates deep seasons of recovery for social anxiety. In ACT, diffusion means creating space between ourselves and our experiences. And by experiences, I mean our thoughts, our feelings, and even our physical sensations, like that flutter in your stomach before you speak or the tightness in your chest when shame shows up. In diffusion, we start to see our thoughts as just thoughts, without minimizing them, but they're not commands or reflections of who we are. We begin to recognize feelings are feedback rather than facts we have to obey. And sensations, those physical signs, well, they just come and go. And those are open to us for interpretation. They do not dictate what we must believe. When we create that space between ourselves and our experience, that's what gives us a choice in how we'll respond to the experience. And through the shame lens, diffusion is deeply compassionate work. Because shame isn't just about what we feel, it's about what we believe we are. And a belief outside of the religious context can be simply defined as the most repetitive opinion that we tell ourselves. So it doesn't matter how many letters are after my name or how many people I help. If I keep repeating, I'm stupid and unhelpful, my mind will believe it despite the objective facts. Now, really, in a psychologically flexible way, I might say, I'm not intelligent in all areas, nor am I helpful to all people, and I am still good enough. When clients are fused with shame-based thoughts of I'm broken, I'm awkward, and I don't belong, they live inside those sentences like their homes. That's their identity, not an experience. And diffusion helps them find the door outside of the home so they can watch their experiences unfold. Let's think about how social anxiety operates. It's not just the fear of judgment, it's fusion with these quiet, familiar stories of the mind. I probably said too much. They probably think I'm weird. I don't think they really like me. And truly, the word probably and don't think are not included there. Let's notice how none of these are logical conclusions. They're felt experiences. They're what happens when shame and anxiety mix to convince us that our discomfort must mean we did something wrong. And diffusion teaches us to step back from these experiences, to notice them as experiences or stories instead of getting swept inside of them. It's not about arguing with the mind either. It's not about changing our thoughts. It's about changing how we relate to those events. Remember from the acceptance video, if you watch that if we focus, we can see that you're not always happy, you're not always sad, you're not always anxious or stressed either. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that all of these experiences, they rise and fall over time in different frequency and intensities. They move through us. Instead of assuming we are the moment, diffusion lets us take a breath and notice these experiences are unfolding in front of you. We can notice they're happening. Not because you're broken, just that you are more than this experience. It's kind of like that moment you realize you're speeding. The second you notice it, something shifts. You suddenly have a choice. Do you slow down? Do you check for cops? Or do you just keep on going? The moment you noticed you were speeding, you became diffused from the experience of speeding. You stepped out of autopilot and gave yourself a chance to choose an action rather than being continued to be carried by the momentum. That's really what diffusion does. It creates that space, that split second of awareness where we can respond instead of react. My two favorite diffusion exercises are ones that I often use in therapy. The first is called the inner critic, which unfortunately takes a bit longer to explain well. And if you'd like me to make a full video walking you through that one, please let me know in the comments or send me an email. I'd really love to create that for you if there's some interest. The other exercise, the one I want to share today, is a little simpler and tends to fit well in a shorter time frame. It's called the word repetition exercise. One day, I had a client walk in, and we'd been noticing this repetitive pattern in therapy. It's not unique to them. This was just their pattern, though. They'd become afraid of being noticed, scared of being seen in the grocery store, or even being seen at home by family members, really anywhere. It wasn't just anxiety about judgment, it was fear of being seen at all. So I asked them if they'd like to do a small experiment. Not with me, but with their mind, and this story that keeps on showing up. When they agreed, we started to boil down what that experience really meant. And what we found was this: I'm scared of being deeply seen. When they said those words, being deeply seen, they described it as if everyone could see every inadequacy, every flaw, every mistake, every missed opportunity. And no matter where they went, they were moments away from being exposed. When they whispered, "They see you," tears began to well up in their eyes. So we set up the exercise. I said, your eyes can be open or closed, totally fine either way, and you don't have to make eye contact with me. In fact, I'll be watching the time on my watch. And for the next 30 seconds, your only goal is to say those 3 words as fast as you possibly can. Again, don't worry about the clock. I'll let you know when it's up. Just focus on noticing your experience while you repeat those words. And for the next half minute, they repeated, "They see you, they 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 see you." Became a little silly after a few moments. Now, at first, the tension in their body was visible. Their jaws were clenched, their shoulders were tight. And about halfway through it, something started to shift. Those words began to lose their sting. By the end of it, they exhaled and said softly, "Wow, it's just words. They're just sounds that blur together when said in a different cadence, in a different tone." And that was the moment of diffusion. Not because the story vanished, they're still scared of being deeply seen. Instead, because it lost its power by becoming diffused instead of fused. It no longer was this heavy weight to carry and always believe. It became an experience that they noticed happened when they were feeling stressed. We teach diffusion because we're not trying to stop clients from thinking. Frankly, that's impossible. We're trying to help them notice the process of thinking itself. These experiences aren't you, they're just happening. It's like teaching someone to recognize a storm without assuming the storm describes everything about the sky. Instead, the clouds move through. They don't define the sky because the clouds aren't always there. In the seasons of recovery from social anxiety, this process of diffusion is essential. There will be times when the old stories return. When shame whispers, you're still the same person you used to be. And diffusion allows you to respond differently when you catch it. To say, "Thanks, mind," or "I noticed that thought occurring again," instead of collapsing into it. That's what keeps recovery alive. The ability to experience the old return of narratives without again surrendering to them. For clinicians, diffusion work often begins with modeling. When your client says, "I'm so awkward, no one will ever like me," instead of disputing it, you may say, "I notice your mind tells you that story a lot. What are your thoughts on that pattern?" Now, this subtle shift invites observation instead of argument. It helps clients recognize that thoughts are simply events of the mind. They're not verdicts of our worth. From there, you can introduce experiential exercises, saying the words slowly, singing them, or labeling them the same way we have before of, I'm noticing the thought that, or I'm experiencing the thought of. And each of these moments helps loosen the grip of what used to be a strong felt experience. Now, more than any technique, what really matters is tone. Diffusion is not mocking the mind. Instead, it's befriending it. It's saying, I see you. I get it. You're just trying to protect me and help me survive. I don't have to follow you today. I can do this on my own. Over time, this practice builds an entirely new kind of strength. Not the strength of control, the strength of flexibility. It lets clients show up to their lives even when their mind is noisy, because they've learned that that noise doesn't have to dictate what they do or believe. And it's the same for us as therapists too. Our minds often tell us stories in therapy. You're not doing enough. You should be further along. Why can't you help them move faster? And diffusion gives us the same permission to step back, to breathe, and continue showing up with presence instead of perfection. I often tell my clients, you don't have to get rid of your thoughts in order to get your life back. Because the goal of recovery isn't silence, it's spaciousness. When thoughts lose their grip, values have a chance to take the wheel. And that's where belonging begins to reappear, not as a concept, rather that of an intentional experience. Diffusion at its heart is an act of self-kindness. If we hold our minds with gentleness instead of fear and factual experiences, we begin to notice shame starting to drown its way out. How we remember that who we are is larger than what we think. So if you're watching this and you're tired of the noise in your head, maybe start here. Notice one thought today, any thought, and instead of fighting it, name it. I noticed the thought that, blink. And then see if you can take one small action towards something that matters to you, even with that thought along for the ride. And you just experience a moment of recovery. Man, that's courageous. And again, that's the heart of diffusion. Remember, there are two types of thought. Type 1 thought, that's automatic. That's the inner critic. That's these shame beliefs. And that's also our creativity too. And then there's type 2 thoughts. Those are chosen thoughts. The type 1 thoughts are the ones that we'll notice by creating type 2 thoughts. So the type 1 thought, I'm not good enough. The type 2 thought, I notice the thought of not being good enough again. We are not our type 1 thoughts, and we don't need to run from them. We do, however, benefit from creating a type 2 thought that's diffused, so then we can choose what we want, not those automatic inner critics. Again, I'm Dr. Matt Bedell, and if you're a therapist and this resonates with you, I've created a CEU based on my doctoral research that I've linked down below, where we go through all of these 6 phases in more detail and understands shame and social anxiety from a deeper, trauma-informed, shame-informed approach. I'd love it if you join me there, and if not, well, I'm still really glad that you're here. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.